Alright, what up, y'all? It's Matt's Shop. So, y'all saw the thumbnail, and y'all read the title, so I want to show y'all what's up with this bike. So, this is a 1994 KDX200, and these bikes are getting older. So, since this is a 1994, you can see it's a 94 because it's got these upside-down forks on them. And this was only on the 93s and 94s, the blue ones, the anodized blue ones, and they look badass. But that's beside the point. These things are getting obsolete, and Kawasaki, they discontinued part support for these new parts. So all the parts that are out there are new old stock parts. And, you know, you can get used parts on eBay, or you can get aftermarket fenders, but I really hate the aftermarket fenders. They don't look right. Some of them might, but what I did was I Frankensteined it, right? So I really hate ghetto rig and stuff like this, but sometimes you have to. And first I tried to melt it back together with a plastic melter, or a plastic welder. That didn't work, as you can see. So what I did was I drilled holes in it, and you can see it's really ghetto, but I don't care because this is a woods bike, and you know, it gets hit up against trees and all kinds of stuff. But if y'all care what it looks like, definitely don't do this. Buy an aftermarket fender or used one on eBay. But what you do is you just drill holes on the top and bottom, and then you run really thick, high-test fishing line through it, like 30-pound fishing line or whatever. And originally this was just supposed to get me by, but it's lasted years like this, so I just left it like that. And I know it's super ghetto, and you can see I got you can get the safety wire, you know, like you do on grips. You can do that too, just to get it to stay together. But this thing hadn't had any problems, and it broke like that because I was doing wheelies up a really steep asphalt driveway, and it came back down on me, and it broke the fender. So it looks ghetto like this, right? I know it does, but once you put the seat on it, you can't tell at all. Well, mostly. So you can see, you can't even see it at all, except for on the sides. And I know it's super ghetto. It was just supposed to get me by, like I said, but I just left it like that. So if y'all are in a pinch or don't want to pay, you know, the crazy price for the new fender, I don't even know what the price is. I don't even want to say, but it was more than I was willing to pay at the time. And like I said, it's an older bike. It's not perfect anyways. So I really don't care what it looks like. If it gets the job done, it gets the job done, right? I don't know how thick that is. I think it's like 30-pound test maybe. 20, 30, 40-pound test. But there's a little trick, you know, if you're working on an old dirt bike and you don't really care, you know, you just want to get it fixed right away because you're tired of looking at it, just to get you by until you can find a fender on eBay or you know, pay a brand new price. I don't even know if they have these fenders new old stock anymore. So a lot of these parts are getting discontinued on this bike, on these bikes, because, you know, after like 20 years or whatever, they stop making parts for it, and whatever they got left is what's left. So anytime you see a used parts bike or whatever, you got to snatch it up so that you can steal parts off of it if it's, you know, in somewhat reasonable condition. But what else is discontinued on this thing? This right here, this piece right here is a rubber piece, and these are prone to cracking. You can find them, but I think it was like $100 or something just for this rubber piece right here. And of course, you don't want a used one off of eBay, you know, and pay a high price for it because it's rubber. It's probably just gonna crack anyways. So there's that right there. And I've seen guys like plasti dip them because they're so expensive. They take it off and they plasti dip the rubber thing on the outside just to get it to seal temporarily. I don't know how long that would last, but you know, you got to get creative sometimes if you can't find parts for these older bikes. This one isn't that old to the point where you can't, but if you're cheap like me and you don't ride the thing all the time, you know, you can get by with stuff like that. What else is on this bike? The Kips power valve right here. These are prone to breaking, and because they're made out of aluminum. And what it is down in here on both sides, it has, you know, it's a gear in the middle, and then it's got the little pieces, the little stubs on the top and bottom that allow it to move in there, the little shafts, and the gears strip out. So that's a big problem on these bikes. On this particular bike, this is like the first year before they changed everything. So on the 95, they changed it to, they call it a perimeter frame. It's a totally different frame. It's more ergonomic. You know, it's more like a newer bike. The styling of it is, and the seat's totally different. That's the new body style, the new frame and stuff for these. Those aren't discontinued as I know at this, you know, as much as I know at this point. Those are still the newer version of this, which is what I'd like to get eventually. But this thing was cheap, and I rebuilt it, and it's a good runner. And so those things are made out of aluminum. They have aftermarket ones. What happens is it gets carboned up on both sides, if I recall correctly. On both sides, it has these, I'll post a picture of it right here. And you have to take it apart and clean all the carbon out, and you got to take the whole thing apart and clean all the carbon out and polish it all up and make sure that it doesn't get carboned up, because it gets carboned up. And if I recall correctly, there's a shaft that goes in and out, and it strips the gears out because it's so carboned up. So they make aftermarket ones of these that are made out of steel, and I'll put links in the description to those where y'all can find those, because a lot of people don't know that. I haven't put the steel ones on this because I really haven't had a problem. I probably need to take it apart and check it, but this was supposed to be about fenders, so you can see all the other fenders and stuff are good on this. And yeah, I just wanted to share that little tip with y'all real quick on how to patch a fender, you know, Frankenstein it temporarily so that you can get by and get a new one, or just leave it like that. I mean, it's a fender, you know. I don't care how pretty it is. So I don't know if this will work too well on, you know, like something like this. One of the front fender pieces like this. You can tell it's 90s retro because, you know, look at it. It's got pink and purple and blue and yellow. They don't do like that anymore. But I don't know if it would work on something like this. You know, it would look really ghetto if you did like that on here. And you can see on the front fender, it would probably work pretty well. You know, on the light. You know, it just depends on where you need to do it. On a side fender or something like that. Fender, I keep calling it a fender. Plastic, fairing, whatever you want to call it. On the side plastic piece, you know, it would work too. But the most prone to breaking, obviously, because of wheelies and accidents, is the back one. And the front one, if you drop it, and the side ones. So I don't know how well it would work on those. But it worked great on this right here. And you can see my front fender is in perfect condition. It's not messed up or ghetto rigged at all. That's another thing on these things. What happens is people put stickers on them, and then it fades. You see, someone had a sticker there. I don't even know what that was. And it fades. And you can get a heat gun and get it to remelt and reflow. Come on now. You can get a heat gun and melt it, kind of melt the surface to reflow and fix it. I did that, and it worked for a while, but it's messed up again. Same with this. You can see this is all faded, and it's all chalky and stuff, oxidized. And I did the same thing to this. You can take a razor, too, and scrape all the junk off of here, and then reflow it with a heat gun and fix all that stuff. And it worked for a while, but it's back to looking like crap, so it just depends on how broken it is and where it is, and you can see it worked well there. So all right, y'all, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and check out the links in the description so y'all can find those power valves, because those are pretty awesome. Peace.